and it goes by so fast. Goes by so fast. Yeah, goes by so fast. Yeah. Okay. Once we go live on Facebook, which is happening now, I'm going to do my quick intro, read her bio, and then let her do her thing. All right. Cool. Okay, we're live. Thank you guys for being here. Thursday morning breakfast. I sincerely appreciate it. We have an awesome speaker this morning. Someone I've been trying to get here for a minute since I first was blessed to understand who and what she represents and what she does. So if you don't know, Thursday morning breakfast is something that we do every Thursday morning as we attempt to bring as many private and public sector subject matter experts to the space as possible because we want to be the bridge. We, the Grow for Care Alliance, we want to be the bridge between those that are doing the good and those that need that good to be done in their lives. For whatever reason, there's a gap, there's a gulf, there's a chasm between the work and the people getting the information about the work. So we bring in people from the city of Houston, we brought in people from the port, a number of nonprofits, people who are running for office, and people who just have a good heart and some information and a lot of knowledge, and they want to bring that to the community to expand what they're doing. And sometimes they own their own farm, which is very cool for us. So I'm going to read Sister AJ Beards' bio, then the brief one, because she sent me two. Thank you for sending me two, because sometimes God have mercy. And then I'm going to turn it over to her. She's going to do her thing. Okay, AJ Beard spent most of her professional career helping global companies transform their operations and technology strategies as a consultant. Now she's applying that same experience to sustainability and agriculture. Amen. Working on ways to make food systems more resilient and help organizations balance growth and environmental responsibility. She loves working hands-on in the soil with growers and teaching what she learns in field and classroom. That's right. AJ is a Houston native and lives and works with her husband and two children in between Houston and Smithfield, Texas. So on that note, we can give Sister AJ a round of applause. We're gonna let her know what she does with her farming operation.
All right, good morning. Thank you so much for being here and being there. Interest in this topic should impact everyone because everybody eats. It turns out food has been quite transformative in my life. As Tamani said, I've got two children. When those children were entering our lives, I was dealing with a lot of health issues. So chronic inflammation, chronic sinusitis, I had a lot of joint issues, and I was dealing with them, pushing through, living an active life, not letting it slow me down, but I wasn't happy, I wasn't healthy, I wasn't thriving. And I was taking a lot of drugs that weren't working. So
prescribed drugs or
prescribed drugs. My bad. Let me prescribed drugs.
Yeah, working it out.
And it's really boring stuff, right? It was for allergies and sinusitis and like skin issues, all that.
Yeah.
And when I got pregnant with my first child, I said, I don't want to take all these drugs. I'm scared of what it will do to my children. I ate as clean as I thought I needed to be eating, but it turned out I actually had food sensitivities. Over the years, I've learned that those food sensitivities aren't because the food was bad for me. It was how the food was made.
Okay.
Is actually affecting my health. And that's where I decided I needed to get more involved in how food systems were developing and growing around me. Now, my involvement was, as Tamani mentioned, I was still working. I was raising my children. I wasn't like, I'm going to be a farmer. 15 years ago, I was like, let's grow food at home. So, and I brought some visual aids because I'm a very tactile person. So I was showing a little bit of our recent ventures at Lone Oak Farm and Tech, of which I'm the founder, along with my husband. We've got quail eggs, which we have for sale now. We have lots of herbs. I know you asked me to show you. Point.
Yeah,
Monty wanted to be my Vanna.
Yeah, when you stepped up, I'm like, okay, well, she got this.
But I need to move.
I offered.
Did offer herbs, greens, got chard here, basil, fresh herbs, because there are so many benefits to growing your own food that transcend just the consumption of the food. Yeah. So thank you for this platform to come and talk to people about it. I'm probably just going to talk for 10, 20 minutes, well, maybe 20, 30 minutes, right, about the topics that hopefully brought you all out to listen to this video because they impact all of us. And they're largely related to how actually putting your hands in the soil directly benefits your health. Even if you produce nothing, it directly benefits your health. And I'll talk about some of those. How those improvements in your health can reduce your cost of living, especially in a medicalized world. I don't know about y'all, but I love watching my stories at night, like just a few. And all the commercials, what are they? What are the commercials? Food and drug. Mostly drugs,
Yeah,
right?
mostly drugs.
Mostly
A lot.
prescription drugs.
Yeah.
And mostly for chronic diseases, not acute diseases. Diabetes, inflammation, joints, psoriasis, all those things. Those things are all inflammation responses.
Mhm.
And they're mostly triggered by the foods that we are eating.
Okay.
So this, by working in the soil, you get the general health benefits of being active and growing your own food. But additionally, when you eat food that is closer to the source, it has been in soil that's been cared for and not treated for maximum yields, you get improved benefits such that you don't have these chronic diseases. I'll also talk a little bit about how we got there, right? How did we even get there?
Yep.
Why did food production change so dramatically? And it's fairly dramatic. It's within the last 100 years. That's the crazy part about it. Because I think that's an important part, because when I talk to farmers and ranchers, I'm talking to urban folks today, right? Most of you are probably in an urban setting. You're not trying to redo generations of how you've been doing stuff with growing food.
Not yet.
But we do need to understand how important it is to be an integral part of our food system and not just a consumer and being told what it should be. Then that change was post-World War. It was, I'm not going to conspiracy theorist it, but it was related to the production of gases and chemicals after the war that they needed something to do with, and they discovered, much like GLP-1s today.
Yeah.
You follow that. They discovered it had another use that could benefit humans, but the impacts weren't clear.
World War II, yeah.
World War II.
Okay.
So that's the things I want you to think about: historical context. And then as consumers, how we can improve by taking some direct action, and the value to you at a small scale. If you've ever been to the store, I'm sure you all have. If you've ever bought fresh herbs.
Yeah.
And spent $6 for some fresh herbs, got maybe $1 of benefit out of it and threw out the rest,
Mhm.
right? Some of the benefit of growing at home that can defray some of those costs. And then I'll tell you about Lone Oak Farm and Tech and Lone Oak Commons, and a little bit about what I could do to help you if you are interested in taking some control of your food.
Cool.
So that context, my own health was at risk and jeopardy, the health of my children. I was concerned a lot about what these drugs would be doing to me. And I didn't yet know the link between my food and my health. And so this was 2010. And I'd always been an athlete. I'd always been active. I'd always been outside. But the whole idea of working in the soil and the dirt, that was
Foreign.
foreign.
To say the least.
Okay. That was something that my parents were trying really hard to keep me from having to do.
Mhm.
Right? They're like, you should be able to afford to go to the store and buy whatever you need. You should be able to live in a house where you don't have pests, you got a beautiful lawn. All those things were sold to us as the picture of progress and success. And so that's what I was striving for. I was trying to work to make money so I could buy the things that I didn't know were poisoning me.
Yeah.
And so in 2010, I made this pivot to avoiding dairy and grains and eggs,
Mhm.
a lot of different foods I was in a naturopathic medical system at the time, trying to understand how to avoid these inflammation responses. But that was the only answer they had for me. It was avoid these foods, because they weren't telling me to grow my own food. They were
Right.
telling me that it turns out glyphosate. Do y'all know what glyphosate is?
Nope, I don't.
Do you know what Roundup is?
I know what Roundup is.
Do you know what Roundup?
Yeah.
Glyphosate is, Roundup's the brand name for glyphosate,
To kill the
which
weeds,
is
right?
a weed killer,
Yeah.
also known as an herbicide. So it kills growing things, leafy things. And that herbicide has, over generations of use,
Mhm.
affected the outcomes and what's actually coming in the food that's being produced that's treated with glyphosate. So it kills the weeds,
Mm.
but it sprays over in the neighbor's farm,
Okay.
right? It sprays over and sits in the roots and the cells of those plants, even if it's not targeted to kill the plant that you're going to eat, because it kills the other ones. It gets pulled up into that system, the internal system of the plants, and they don't know what it does to the humans, right? They didn't. Now they do.
Mhm.
But when thousands and thousands of acres of wheats, buckwheat, barley, oats, etc., are produced with this this chemical in them, that affects us over time.
Is that chemical still being used to grow food now?
It
As
is,
far as we know?
it is supposed to be no.
Supposed to be
In
no?
most,
Okay.
most cases.
Okay,
It is still used.
Okay.
It is not used as broadly. You've got a lot of alternatives,
Okay.
I guess, to it. And that has helped in some cases, but it's not readily available, right?
Okay.
So farmers have to still produce
Mhm.
at the yields that they're trying to be able to make ends meet.
right.
And they need something to keep weeds away so
Okay.
that they can grow at the yields that they were supposed to be yielding. So there's a whole other side of the industry of farming that I actually was wanting to show some of those pictures. But we'll actually we'll hold on a second.
Okay, I just have me in the background, wait.
Okay.
Right.
So the chemicals that are put into the food to increase yields often have an inverse effect on the nutritional quality of those foods. So when we are working the soil ourselves to produce the foods, we don't want to be having our hands in Roundup and whatnot. So often people will find ways to grow food that doesn't require the use of all those chemicals. So that's one of the benefits of growing at home, is that you're directly looking at what you are putting on your food
Mhm.
before it even grows. Therefore, you're making a conscious decision to avoid those chemicals in the food that you grow. When you buy a beautifully packaged product off the shelf, or I'm looking at this chaos of the green onions that I just threw in this bucket. Whole Foods would
All that
never,
is green onion?
Whole Foods would never present it. that
Wow.
way. Let's be honest. They be making it real pretty.
Right, right.
But when food is presented to you in a way that is attractive, you don't think about how was the soil treated, what
Mhm.
was in the water before it was sprayed on it, what chemicals or other animals were around
Yeah.
when that food was produced. So they abstract that away from you, and it takes I won't say decision, but it takes that factor out of your equation of should I buy this or not.
Right.
Often it's price.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I want the best price for the food that I am buying. You're not necessarily thinking about the vitamins, the minerals, both in their quantities, but also the potential carcinogens and poisons that are being put in the food to grow it.
Is it
right?
safe to assume that organic things that are grown do not have the Roundup pesticides?
They do not have Roundup. They don't use Roundup, but they do use pesticides.
Oh,
And
okay.
they do use herbicides.
All right.
And they do use
You
fungicides.
get away from some of the,
So you get away
poison.
from some,
okay.
but organically grown food still uses all of those products.
And it's because of the yield that they're trying to.
Because they
reach.
need to achieve a certain yield.
Yeah.
Right? Once you start growing, and there's a whole other theory about, not theory, a whole other set of practices related to growing that allows you to reduce your need for pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, et cetera.
Okay.
That commercial farms that are growing thousands of acres of one crop
Mhm.
cannot do. When you grow one crop, the ecosystem is really designed against you, because all the pests are like acres and acres and acres of a feast.
Free food.
All the predators that would eat those pests are not around, because the other plants that attract the predators that eat pests that eat your food aren't there. So the commercial farming system, organic or conventional, is not geared to reduce the need for pesticides and herbicides and fungicides. They have to be willing to do less $1 million combine machines,
Mhm.
because they can do thousands of acres at a time, but they can't handle 10 different plants in this bed, 10 different plants in this bed, 10 different plants in this bed, because that requires a lot of manual
Manpower.
labor.
Okay.
Manpower, yes, that's right. And manpower doesn't scale at a conventional yield target
Mhm.
and at the prices that conventionally grown food is being driven down to.
So with that understanding, we can't fix this issue if we're not willing to grow on a smaller scale, more locally from our backyard to our community to the neighborhood kind of thing.
That's right.
Okay.
That was a great conclusion.
Yeah.
Because if price is the only driver, and the thing is, you may be spending a lot less for a conventionally grown produce at the store,
Mhm.
but you're paying for it somewhere.
Yeah.
So what did I
Yes.
mention earlier?
Yeah.
Prescription drugs.
Yep.
Time at the doctor's
Yes, ma'am.
office.
Yep.
A decreased quality of life.
Yeah, which is inevitable. Right?
It's not.
No, I'm saying if you keep going that
If
route,
you keep going the
Yeah.
route of eating conventionally
Yeah.
grown food
right?
and not moving enough, not spending time outside because you can get your groceries delivered to your door from a big box store.
That's right.
You're going to inevitably, that's right, deal with endocrine disease, metabolic disorders, obesity, and I can't think of the word all of a sudden, comorbidities that go with obesity.
What kind of morbidity?
Comorbidities,
Okay.
yeah, so essentially the things that you get that happen because you're obese.
Oh wow.
Like increased risk for heart disease,
Yeah,
stroke,
yeah.
and other endocrine related disorders. Those things are inevitable
Mm-hmm.
if we maintain that it's okay to eat food that's been treated with chemicals, that we don't move enough, that we don't spend enough time outside. All of those things kind of go together.
Another question.
Mhm.
So your parents are from Houston.
Yes.
So
Well, no, they're actually from South Oak Cliff in Dallas and Port Arthur.
Oh.
From that's
Okay.
where they're from. Yeah,
Okay.
they're in Houston.
all right.
Yeah.
So I have heard, and Ms. Fontenot and Sister Yvonne, you guys let me know if you've heard this as well, that I guess the generation before us, they wanted more for their kids, so they push getting away from tilling the soil, if you will, because we've done that. So you can go to school and be a professional or whatever. Do you think that is done because there's also trauma with Black people and the land and how we were forced to work that land? And because of that trauma, it's going to take more than just you speaking knowledge and truth. We have to do something to help that trauma with that land for the people. Yeah. Would that be correct?
So I do agree with the assessment, right? Like sort of that walkthrough.
Yeah.
I think I would say it happened even 2 generations before, because when I think
Oh,
about my
wow.
great grandparents and my grandparents, my grandparents in particular, they were not growers.
Okay.
They may have had a few little things, and I'll be honest, I don't really know. When I was a kid, I didn't see it.
Okay.
I didn't see it. They didn't talk about it. We weren't
They're from Texas as well.
also from Texas.
Okay.
Mhm, Dallas and Port Arthur. And
Okay.
I don't ever remember seeing anything growing,
Okay.
right?
But
So
you guys from Texas? You guys, did your parents and your grandparents grow food? Okay. Okay. I'm from South Carolina. I remember my grandfather had a
I'm
pretty
sure-
good, pretty good size.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't remember any in
Yeah.
Oak Cliff. I don't remember any food growing. I don't remember them talking about it. My mom in Port Arthur, I just see like lawns, like that's what I'm remembering from my childhood.
Yeah.
Growing up. And then my parents, they wanted to get away from just living hand to mouth,
Right.
kind of day to day. So they worked to try to earn in a white collar
Mm-hmm.
context. And they never spoke about growing food. We never talked about, and mom cooked
Yeah.
and made really robust, delicious meals with lots of different foods in them, but they were all from the store.
Sure.
There wasn't
So-
anything about growing.
With it.
You get, how did you get
Into it.
Yeah. What piqued your interest to even start learning?
Health.
So I was always into green.
That doesn't always fit.
No,
Well,
it
it-
doesn't.
it-
Yeah, it doesn't. And I had been growing plants, like ornamental plants. I always enjoyed being around living things.
What is
And
the
so
what is the
you want
ornamental?
to show some of the pictures. So ornamentals are plants that don't provide any nutrition. They're like, this crazy thing is so many
Like-
plants can provide nutrition and are beautiful to look at, like just beautiful to look at. But ornamentals are the ones that you can't eat the leaves, they're either
Sunflowers.
toxic. Oh no, sunflowers are edible.
Yeah, they-
Mhm. Sunflowers, the big head sunflowers, you can eat the seeds, the smaller ones, some of the petals can be eaten. A lot of them, dandelion, believe it or not, is an edible leaf. Like there's a lot of plants that we consider weeds that
Uh-huh.
are actually herbaceous, and meaning they have nutritious opportunities for us.
Mhm.
There are also a lot of plants that we could be growing instead of traditional ornamentals. So waxy leaf plants that you often see, those are often poisonous for humans, but they're resilient. They don't need a lot of management.
Mhm.
And that's why we like ornamental plants, because they don't need to be pruned back. They don't need to be like a pothos type or an ivy. Yeah, so I actually brought a pothos in here.
So ivy would be ornamental, yeah? Is that what you're saying?
Ivy is ornament, yeah.
Okay.
Ivy doesn't, jasmine, even though it smells amazing.
Mhm.
This is a pothos. People see these everywhere because they grow
Sure.
really fast.
So,
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they-
see, that's all. Yeah.
They are,
Can you hold it down so they can see on the camera, the leaves?
Yeah. That. Angle it.
I'll put all my things over here and then that way people can see.
There you go.
Sometimes people call these ivies because they do sort of vine, but this is a pothos. It's a common house plant.
And
It's
easy
great
to grow.
for
And they're
easy to grow.
yeah.
Yeah, this is actually a I pulled off these leaf nodes so I could propagate it so I could get more of them.
Those edible?
These are not. So these are more. Again, these are like we're often, sold in the store as a bunch of plants that are beautiful and easy to care for. But they don't provide nutritional value. They do provide health benefit because ideally you're working with them in soil, you're touching something green, they respire the things that we need, oxygen. So their benefit to versus just being in a completely built environment with no living things other than humans.
And I just want those, and I have a baby that died, right, and I have an ornament
Mm.
of the death of baby, and the plant is like 36 years old.
Really?
That's
Yes.
Wow.
And it's still- Yeah, bro, as long as I water it.
Yeah.
Tank it, yeah.
That fact might
Yeah.
have something else going on with it.
That's amazing. No, that's amazing.
That might
Yeah.
be the universe letting you know.
I
You
had-
still here, baby. That's heavy.
Yeah.
And that's why I asked the question about the trauma. I don't want to go too far down this road.
I know
But-
we can bring it back to that, but
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
think
My question is, how do you deal with that trauma that we have with the land, understanding the importance of we got to find a way to grow more of our own food, but there's trauma there. Without going too far down that road.
as a short answer,
Yeah.
we do not have to let the trauma of our ancestors run our lives.
Okay.
So the way I do it is by acknowledging it internally,
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging that it might be there. I think mostly I laugh because my parents and my in-laws even too, because they have like a West Virginia background.
Okay.
Grew up hunting, same thing. They're like, I want hunting and growing food.
Okay.
I don't want to do that.
Right.
I don't want to do that. And they look at us like, why? That seems like a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like, why would you do all that?
Yeah.
But I look at it as that doesn't have to affect my life directly
Okay.
in terms of limiting my joy
Gotcha.
that I get from doing it and the benefit that I get from doing it. And I can be an example, right?
Amen.
Of how to live through it and how to take it and make it my joy and not something someone else put on me. Because yes, I mean, there's plenty of Black gardener growing groups that I'm in that some of the narrative is like, this is not our ancestors
Okay.
like struggle,
Okay.
right? We are here to be able to take it back
Mm-hmm.
because while we were forced into it,
Yeah.
it was such valuable knowledge
Mhm.
and a power to
Yeah.
be able to nourish communities.
Yeah. And we did do it before we
Cities.
got here. So yeah, so it was already
And so to have it taken from us is the real trauma.
yeah.
It's to have it
Okay.
have it be something that we want to run away from. When
Right.
realistically, it is the key to our freedom
Mhm.
now.
Which-
That's the part.
Which is a
that's
perfect
terrible.
segue to get back to the importance of growing your own so that you can be healthy, so that you can decrease the effects it's going to have on you. But if you don't take control of what you can do, getting back to what you were saying, then the flip side is inevitable. You are going to have serious issues.
That's
with your
right.
health.
Which communities struggle the most
Yeah.
with inflammatory and chronic diseases?
Us
Which
is-
community?
Yes.
Black
Us
and
is-
brown community,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And we were the ones that had the knowledge, were forced to use the knowledge for others' benefit.
Yeah.
And now we don't believe that's work we should be doing because we were forced to do it before, but it is actually the key
Yeah.
to our thriving future.
Yep.
And one of the things I want to do, and then so I'll bring it at the very end, is just talk about ways in which we can learn from each other
Okay.
and build ecosystems where every person's individual strength is maximized and they work cooperatively with others to be able to sell or market or grow whatever their skill or their genius is,
Mhm.
rather than having to try to do it all. 'Cause that's another thing we need to be doing as a community, is learning how to work together
Yeah.
in ways that enable us to get the best out of it,
Yeah.
right?
Talking about trauma, so don't you also think that you have to be able to, with the land, I mean, I know you're able to, but I'm just saying, you have to be able to value the land so that you can afford to purchase it. And I'm not talking about.
You don't have
I
to
know
purchase land.
No, I was
do
gonna
it,
say,
but
I know
yeah.
you can
Huh?
do I know you can do the container garden and all that,
Mhm,
but I
mhm.
think also the value of understanding only the land. So that maybe people can get a larger
it's perfect. I'll bring it up later, at the end, on one of the things that I'm doing at Lone Oak that is to help others who
Oh.
don't own land
Okay.
to be able to grow. And some other organizations in Houston, because mine is rural out in Smithville, so it's a couple hours away from Houston. But there's also organizations in Houston that are focused on helping people get access to land so that they can grow.
Oh, really? Okay, amen.
My deceased husband, when we first purchased our house, he had aneurysm problems. So he was a stay-at-home mom per se.
That was my dream job, by the way. I still want to stay home and raise my kids. I really do.
No.
I do not. Art.
But he lived
Oh, amen, amen.
house on a corner lot.
Okay.
So in his time there, but he used to make a garden,
Mhm.
the mustard, the tomatoes,
Mhm.
the okra, and the watermelon. And
great.
he even went and rented a tiller and all that kind of stuff to get that garden going. We didn't make a profit from it because he would share with the neighbors.
Did he grow up growing food with his family, or just something he just wanted to do?
That's something he wanted to do.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
a little, I mean, going back to answering the question, why did I get into it? I had a health concern, but I was always enamored with growing things, just in general, right? Big animals, growing ornamentals. Again, I only really got into ornamentals. I didn't really know much about growing food because it just wasn't prevalent.
Mhm.
My family wasn't talking about it, my friends weren't talking about it, my community wasn't talking about it.
Right.
Then when I had the kids, I was like, they need to know.
Yeah.
They need to understand. Because after I got married, I did start growing at home because my husband had grown up with his family going summering where he would go and
Okay.
work in the garden. He's like, oh, it'd be amazing to have land and grow. And I'm like, that sounds crazy and a lot of work. just grow some stuff at
That's why I went to college.
How about we just grow it, right? I was
Right,
like,
right.
so I could.
You know, you
not
don't
have to
know
work so hard.
everybody.
But I was like, let's grow stuff at home. So
Yeah.
we started having little gardens everywhere we lived. Same as y'all, right? Everywhere we lived, we would grow a little something. And so if you'll go back to those slides I showed, I'll show you some of the pictures. So the act of growing, you talk about, you have a bad day at work, you come home, you see a seedling pop out.
It's therapeutic, huh?
How did this seedling go? Because I take no ownership, right?
I did.
There are so many powers. Seeds are magical. I don't know about y'all. The fact that they can be dormant for years and years and years, and you put them in the right context,
Mhm.
they bear nourishment.
Mm. Yeah.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think everyone should be close to that power, right? And be a vessel for that power, because when we have so much power taken away from us, I
Yeah.
think it is really important that you find little ways, because you get I mean, I'm getting tingly right now, just thinking about, there are times when I'll think something shouldn't sprout at all, or something will sprout out where I didn't plant it. And it's just like, we just got strawberries. Like I've literally had strawberries come out of nowhere. I had potatoes that I don't remember planting that just came up. Because if we do the right things by taking care of the soil
Mhm.
and grounding ourselves in that fact that the soil, we shouldn't be poisoning it. We shouldn't be putting dirty water in it. The water from our taps, unfortunately, is chloraminated. It's got chlorine and chloramine in it. And those two things actually kill all the microorganisms
Mm.
that we need in soil to put healthy nutrients in the food that's grown in the soil.
Oh.
You can have a beautiful leaf, beautiful melon, beautiful tomato, looks amazing, and it is dead inside compared to what is grown in soil that is taken care of. So those are the things that I think.
Wait.
Can you
Hold
go
on.
to the next?
Hold on a second, sister. You just said something. So, per that statement, does that mean, I don't say everything, but the things that we see in the grocery stores
Mhm,
that's presented so that we will buy it,
mhm.
does it look good on the outside, but all of it's dead on the inside? Surely that can't.
So Des a little strong.
All right. Sorry.
Since the 1940s, tests have shown we've seen a 5 to 40% or more decline in key nutrients
Okay.
available in
40. Wow.
a majority of
Yeah,
It's a
that's a lot.
vegetable.
Yeah.
produced through conventional.
Okay.
It's a decline. And that is when you're killing, what they're learning is old knowledge.
Mhm.
Indigenous, especially Native American, indigenous peoples in the United States
Mhm.
have talked a lot, the origin stories and stories about how the trees talk to each other.
Mhm.
Plants talk. Well, it turns out underneath the soil, there is an entire ecosystem
Yeah. No doubt.
of communication,
Yeah.
of transport,
Right.
of symbiosis
Mhm.
that gets killed. So imagine, that we talk about ecosystems like the rabbits. If you have too many rabbits, then the foxes explode in population because they get a lot of food, and the foxes go too much, then all of a sudden the rabbits have to decline. So that relationship between predator prey and partner and symbiosis,
Mhm.
those things happen underground.
Okay.
And so when we spray pesticides and we till and we rip everything out of the soil,
Mhm.
that affects that ecosystem.
Right.
That ecosystem is what can take nutrients from the minerals
Mhm.
and converted sunlight from dead plant matter. That puts it back in plants. But when you kill those things,
Right.
they can't
Some people
bring
like
those
God.
nutrients to the food that's grown there.
Yeah.
So what
Wait, what did you say? I'm assuming it's not being taught in schools?
I mean, we don't really talk about plant biology to that
So I'm
level,
gonna say
like to
no.
that
Yeah.
ecosystem. No,
Yeah.
I mean, as a homeschool parent, I do, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm talking to, but a lot of homeschools don't necessarily have access to that information.
Okay.
And a lot of people just we don't think about
Don't
it.
think about
We don't
it,
have to
right.
think about it.
Yeah.
And reality is you see a big, beautiful, juicy tomato, you're like, oh, it looks great.
Right.
Like it's not disease, there's no worms in it, it's whatever, like that seems like it should be good. And it tastes okay,
Yeah.
it doesn't taste
It's like a
poison.
tomato.
So there's, and it's a whole food, right? A lot of people are understanding packaged foods. Try not to eat too many, right? Eat more whole foods, eat many plants. Packaged foods have been processed, therefore every processing step decreases the nutritional value of food, right? It
Yeah.
just does. Like it's both a time thing, a heat thing, and a mechanical processing thing. All
And a
of
money
those
thing.
things all of those things take nutrients out of food, right?
Right.
As you process it.
Yes, ma'am.
So are you talking about like, hey, frozen vegetables? Should you buy that?
Oh, no, I mean, there's like a spectrum of highest nutritional value to like loss, where you're gonna lose nutritional value in the food. Fresh picked out of the ground, depending on the food, some food needs to cure, sure. But fresh picked out of the ground is gonna have the maximum amount of nutrients that you can get. Flash frozen is actually, I think, the second best, but it has the highest cost typically because you gotta have a freezer, you gotta keep it frozen, they gotta get it to you faster. Canned foods can be similar depending on how they're treated. And then the process, like where it's cut, heated, pasteurized, whatever it is, whatever those different methods are that take them away from freshest, that's where the decline happens. But the decline that I'm referring to in terms of nutrients lost for homegrown versus conventionally grown is all those other things that's killing the soil in which the food is grown in. That's where the decline is happening. That's where having locally produced foods that are grown in ways that don't poison the soil are the most nutritious food that you need. And I realize I'm talking about a lot of different things, and I didn't even talk about sort of how we got to where synthetic fertilizers and herbicides were the thing, why that became the thing. And I'll just very quickly talk about that because I mentioned it. Post World War II, we learned about chemical warfare and the ways to create bombs and other things.
Yeah.
Well, those chemicals, as I was mentioning earlier, GLP-1s, they're like, well, we used it for this, and that's why we were experimenting on it and trying to figure out how to do, but what else could we do with it?
Mhm.
And they had systems and infrastructure to produce that at scale because they needed it. Well, they learned that you could actually put that on plants and you got bushier, brighter, bigger plants. It's like, oh, why don't we do that? Because it had the key ingredients, sodium, potassium, and phosphorus that plants need. And we know that plants need that. But like I was saying, in that ecosystem under the soil,
Mhm.
we understand plants also need way more than just those three. But if you add synthetic fertilizers that we learned how to produce at scale post World War II, we could get them bigger faster. And bigger and faster is what we need, right? We didn't have the soil, the microscopy to look at the soil. We didn't have the techniques to do that. And we weren't questioning it. We were like, more food for our troops, for our humans. We need that. Let's go. Well, 20, 30, 40 years later, they acknowledged the fact that more was not better because those synthetic fertilizers that you had to pay for, e.g., companies made money, those companies it wasn't in their benefit to say, well, we're not producing as healthy of food. It was just that we're producing more and it looks good. so we can sell more of it. So sell more fertilizers, produce more food. If you do a little digging on Google and talk about the decline in yield production for synthetically fertilized food, you will find that farmers are struggling yield after yield to produce the same crops. Now, some of that is not just the synthetic fertilizers, it's also growing the same food over and over and over in the same place. Because just like, well, I don't know if this is a good example, but many different plants, each plant requires different things from the soil. If you grow the same plant, it's gonna always pull the same thing from the soil because its DNA hasn't changed, it does what it does. But if you only grow that plant there, it's gonna pull it out, and then that nutrient will be gone from the soil over time, even if you grow without synthetics. So if you keep pumping it in with fake food, fake fertilizers, you're gonna run out of that nutrient eventually.
And what is a fake fertilizer? When
The
it's,
synthetic fertilizers that
Okay.
were produced from post-World War, like when they
Gotcha.
learned how to make synthetic fertilizers
Mhm.
post-World War II,
Mhm.
they were then able to start increasing crop yields
Okay,
in the short term.
right.
They're like, in the short term, over like 3 or 4 harvests, like, oh my God, we're making so much more food and it's great because we need to feed so many people. But
And did they know at the time that we're making more food, but we also
they did not.
the nutrient content is being
They did not realize it was impacting the nutrient density in the crops that were being produced in that way. And they also didn't recognize the synthetic fertilizers themselves are not poisonous,
Okay.
right? They're a mimic of naturally occurring fertilizers that come through composting or mulching, things that come from dead plant material that would turn those nutrients back to the soil.
Yeah,
But they can't replace it forever,
Okay.
if that makes any sense, because the rest of the things needed in the soil, the other minerals, the other vitamins, the exudates from all the different like creatures that live in the soil, nematodes.
the ecosystem has
earthworms,
been destroyed.
that whole ecosystem
Yeah,
didn't get anything else it needed, and
Right.
it died off or went somewhere else.
okay.
And so they can't pull the other nutrients into the food that's being produced.
Okay.
Because
Is that-
sodium,
is-
potassium, and phosphorus, they help with like the things that you see,
Hmm.
but they don't necessarily help with the other nutrient uptake.
So because of everything you're saying, is there a crisis with the growing of healthy foods in the countries of the world?
US and heavy synthetic fertilizer based places, yes.
Okay.
There's issues, more of the issues when it comes to food access versus food production. But
Okay.
in general, when it comes to nutrient density in the United States, we are seeing a decline
Okay.
in the nutrient density of food
Hmm.
because of the way we are farming,
Okay.
because the way we are producing.
In that way, as far as how we are farming, they understand what they are doing.
Now there is a lot more, so there's research backed
Hmm.
evidence that supports ancient ways of growing
Okay,
are what we need to kind of go back to in
Right.
order to get the nutrients into the food again.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I know this is stuff that so I made the pivot to growing food at home just for fun 15 years ago.
Mhm.
But I didn't know any of this until
I was just about to ask,
3
what
years.
was your major in? Because you
Two-
thrown out a lot of terms that most people are
Well,
like,
and
what
so-
did she major in?
so I majored in electrical engineering.
Yeah.
So I do like
'Cause this
to
ain't
get
it.
into the weeds. I do like to get into the weeds of stuff, but no, I didn't study this at all. I was trying to build computers and make a
Right.
bunch of money. I
Right.
was like, engineering pays really well. Let me go
Right.
study that in
Okay.
school. And I've always been interested in systems.
Mhm.
And so the systems design aspect of engineering was the launching pad for me to be comfortable quitting my career in tech
Yeah,
and saying, let's try to make a farm.
Right.
Let's try to be
Right.
farmers.
but that's a
and
system as well. And I would
it's
venture to say it's more
100%
important.
a
Yeah.
system. And I think
Huge.
farmers that are farming thousands of acres of one crop
Hmm.
are missing the benefits of an integrated system, both for pest management, for weed suppression, and for the nutrient density, like producing the most nutritious food that they
Mhm.
can. So that's why large scale farms can do it,
Mhm.
but they have to essentially think like small farms and treat their farming practices in little buckets, if you will,
Yeah.
pockets, so that they create a holistic system and not just I'm growing wheat
Right.
4,000 acres, and therefore they cannot get away from the pests because wheat for thousands of acres
Mhm.
is a field day, figuratively, for pests that prey on wheat
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah.
But because there are no border rows of I was talking about this earlier, predators that would eat the pests
Hmm.
that target wheat,
Mhm.
there's nothing to stop them except for an external synthetic herbicide or
Okay.
pesticide in this case. So those are the things that we have to think about when we choose where we're getting our food from. If we don't grow it ourselves,
Right.
we have to make those choices. You can't know all that.
You
You
cannot,
cannot
yeah.
know what they're doing to produce that food.
Right.
It's not in their in their interest, the producers, to tell you all of their practices.
Mhm.
It would be overwhelming
Yeah.
as a consumer to do that.
And to that point, I would assume that given this administration's approach to cutting out programs and funding for things, I would assume that there is no entity that's over the growth of the food that's letting the farmers know we got to find a better way.
So the USDA and the Natural Resources Conservation Service, Farm Service Agency, so those are two entities within the USDA.
Mhm.
They are trying, but they're lagging, right? They're
Okay.
they're not gonna lead the charge with what's changing. Where I see the most grassroots, or the most effective and useful information coming out about how you can successfully grow your own food at home
Mhm.
is in small grassroots organizations.
Okay.
And I wish
Okay.
there were more
Yeah.
that were led by folks like us.
Right.
But they are out there.
Sure.
So National Women in Agriculture, the women, there's many women in agriculture. I really start with women in agriculture
Yeah.
because they definitely help a lot with, because in an urban context, what is it, like 60% of growers, I'm asking you because
Are women?
probably know, are women.
Oh.
Yes,
Okay.
in an urban context, many more of the producers are women. And so those women traditionally are under supported and across all the other domains. So having an understanding that we need support because we're traditionally under supported as growers, and we're the ones that are going to be helping in an urban context to bring more fresh, locally produced or homegrown produced food to our communities. We need that support. We need that support. So I was bringing that back to, because I did want to say the health benefits. If you try to do just a container garden in your own home, the myriad, right? The movement, the getting outside in the sunshine, the placing your hands in soil or touching grass, as the kids say, right? It actually has a beneficial effect in our bodies that is scientifically proven. Even if you weren't gardening, if you're doing anything else and getting those things moving regularly, both moving like this way, but also moving up and down, those things have dramatic impact in a positive way on our health and longevity that we're missing because we don't garden daily, right? Like we used to. They also, the nutrient density of the food that is available to you, the different variety of food that you might grow at home that you wouldn't buy at the store because the store didn't. A store is motivated by what they can sell in purchasing decisions. So they bring in the food that's popular or that got marketed the best to them. They don't necessarily look at like, what's going to keep our clients healthy. They want to make money. And if they're going to make money by selling the same yellow carrots or orange carrots, they're going to sell those carrots. But humans, all of us, need diversity. And when you're at home and you've got a spot that you can do what you want with, you can create that diversity. And that's another benefit of growing at home that we don't necessarily get, especially with some of the stores that are super price sensitive, they're price competitive, and they don't focus on buying anything that they might lose money on because they don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So let's see, growing your own food. So let me, how are we doing on time? It was 9:30. Okay.
yeah.
I have to run. So I want to make sure I talk a little bit about me and what I do with my family. I like to learn about the food. I like to learn about why growing matters. So I like to talk about it and give people an opportunity to learn. So I have an urban garden at my home that I invite people
Do we need to
to
look at the
come.
pictures real quick?
Sure,
Yeah,
we should go to the
yeah,
pictures. Yes,
let's
because
zoom.
these are pictures
So
of,
this is your backyard.
this one is actually not my
Oh,
backyard.
okay.
Because my backyard didn't look like that
I
one.
said, this looks nice.
I know. But the other pictures are of produce up close. So these are harvests from my garden. That's corn.
All of these came from your garden?
Yes,
Oh, wow.
all of those have come from my garden. As
Okay.
Cantaloupe grows amazing here. You like cantaloupe, grow it. Grow it in the front yard. It was amazing. Like I didn't have to do anything. Just threw the seeds out there, watered it a few times. Then you don't have to water as much because melons don't need as much water once they're established. And these mofos come back every year. They just keep coming back because I use my compost and sometimes there's seeds in there. Okra, lots of varieties of okra grow really well here. What's up here? There's a ton of lettuces and there's a nightshade back there. Don't grow.
Did you say corn?
Corn? I have actually not grown
Yeah, but I don't see
corn
it.
here in
Okay.
Houston.
Okay.
I've grown corn in Seattle,
Okay.
which is where we lived briefly in the 2010-20 era.
Okay.
Then on the bottom, there's mini pumpkins, kale, chard, and tomatoes. We've grown all those. If we keep going.
Okay.
Peas also grow really well here. Okay, I won't show you that. This one is I think that's a barometer bush or the Texas sage, which I grow for its flowers because the flowers attract pollinators.
Mhm.
So I have food and ornamentals, 100%. I think it's really important. You have to love your garden, right? You have to enjoy spending time in it. And you also, if you live in a neighborhood with the HOA, those of you who live in homes, you got to play nice. You got to play by the rules.
Yeah.
But you need to sneak that food in there where you can.
Yeah.
I intentionally, my husband and I, since we've been fortunate enough to buy homes, we have never lived in an HOA community because we will not be told what to do
Right.
with our land.
Your land.
Now, I don't have a picture of our front yard. I should put one on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because we just put in, Tamani came out and helped, what's the soul? To build garden beds in the front. But I'm putting ornamentals in them as well as fruits and veggies because, you know, I want to play nice. I don't want neighbors complaining that they got the janky front yard with all the stuff out of control. I
Right.
may get there, but needless to say, I want them to see the bounty, the red. So were you asking earlier about the purple onions, purple
Yes.
bunching onions? Yeah, so those are the purple bunching onions. I make smoothies a lot, so that spinach that we've grown, go to the next one. That is kale and collards in the pot there that we've grown. This is more kale and collards, butternut squash, sweet potatoes. So these are all like things that I've harvested out of my front and backyard. And I grow in the front intentionally so that I can generate conversations with the neighbors when they walk by.
Wow.
And also
Okay.
show, no, it's a force.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I've had people be like,
Mhm.
right? Because, you know, people could walk by and steal your stuff or dogs could be doing anything on the side. And it's like, but it is intentional about creating conversation because like I said, if you don't see it,
Yeah.
if you're not talking.
You don't
to
think
people
about it.
You don't think about
Yeah.
it. And then I get to have conversations with neighbors. I also get to bring groups over and have them come and learn and look and touch and
Awesome.
feel.
Awesome.
Host a neighborhood event. They're in a garden doing
Yeah.
it instead of just on the sidewalk with the lawn.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm trying to, I think there's one more slide.
And you're gonna mention something about
Yeah.
land and about land or.
Oh, yeah. Now
Yes.
it's on the land to work it.
Yes,
Yeah.
so what I want to do, and what I'm doing with Lone Oak Farm and Tech is, and the tech part, I don't even talk about here because that's a whole other story. This goes back to my engineering background and passion, is I do love teaching people sort of mid-tech, low-tech solutions to make it easier to garden. So water harvesting, solar pumps to spray the water from your water tanks. We have, I'll talk about that in a second, but yeah, we have classes that I teach through local organizations. I'm willing to come speak to groups.
Yep.
I try to promote my colleagues in the community because they've been out there doing it way longer than I have and have community gardens. So this goes back to the access thing. Community gardens are a great stepping stone or starting point for getting your hands in the soil, learning from experts. There are master gardeners out the wazoo. I'm amazed every day at the depth of knowledge that gardeners have, but you don't get that just by reading. Like I was curious and I started reading a lot of things online, watching a lot of YouTube, but how I learned was planting these
Yeah,
things,
by doing.
learning
Yeah.
when pests invaded and I didn't have the right balance between the detractor plants like marigolds and onions and basil, how those actually keep pests away. But I didn't know that. I mean, I read it, but I didn't know it until I witnessed it and I was like, oh,
Yeah. Now I
you
see.
have to do it.
Yeah.
And you have to share in community
Yeah.
with it when you're doing it. So community gardens are a great way to get started for growing your own food
Mhm.
in a shared context. Container gardening is another one. If you live in an apartment and you only have a patio or windowsills, that is still an opportunity to grow. If you'd rather, or don't have as much access, or you're very concerned about pests or whatever else, you could do grow lights inside. It does have a cost, right? A little bit more than containers do,
Mhm.
but it is still a way to grow food, especially fresh herbs. Man. Fresh herbs straight out of the container are incredible for food. And just for like smelling of all the things. They just smell, they make me feel so good sometimes. I do recommend livestock if you can do it. And I bring these out several times. We have quail, a flock of quail that we raise at home for their eggs, or that we don't raise them for meat. Currently, but my daughter, that's my daughter's enterprise. It's something that the kids are excited about and interested in doing, because I think the other important thing is finding ways for everybody to find joy in it. Not everybody's gonna love growing onions, although my son, he hated vegetables. I had such a hard time getting him, even though I've been growing food at home for a long time, getting him to eat vegetables. I don't know what changed this last year or so, but he started plucking stuff off the vine, and the intense stuff, garlic, green onions.
Probably because they just like to put stuff in.
I'll take it though, because he's eating a lot, and cilantro fresh and dill, like he.
Is he a cooker?
No,
No, oh, no. So he's not
brown foods. He can boil water and make some. That's what he likes to do.
Keep it simple.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but so then community gardens, and then there's shared acre garden. I can't think of the right, like I think about the West Alabama garden, because they rent plots. So you can rent a plot. You'd be surprised at how many people are willing to let you actually tend a garden on their land for a trade, for barter. Those are systems that capitalism has told us aren't important. If you can't make money off of it,
Mhm.
why wouldn't you do it? But
Right.
barter
Right.
and trade
Yeah.
and community
Still works.
agreements,
It
they
still
still
work.
work.
Yes, ma'am.
So it never hurt. I would encourage people to just say, hey, I noticed you got this spot over here that would you be okay if I put some containers there and grew some food in it? Right? Having that conversation, just asking,
Yeah.
one, it makes a new connection with the neighbor. Two, it gives you an opportunity to beautify an area that maybe somebody just doesn't have time or didn't know.
Mhm.
And you're sharing that knowledge and education. You will more than likely, like this young lady here was saying, you'll have a bounty just by putting in effort. So you'll have extra to be
Right.
able to share.
Yep.
And it just has so many levels of benefits beyond the actual produce that you put in your mouth, that I'm here to try to encourage more people to do that. So what I want to do with Lone Oak Farm and Tech is encourage people, consult with them if they want help. So if you want help building a container garden, we're really interested in trying to talk to restaurants and small organizations, because if restaurants can buy from these local
Sure.
farmers,
Yeah.
they can create an income cycle.
Yep.
Right?
It
Or
incentivizes.
trade,
Yeah.
like I said, or trade with the restaurants. Maybe you're providing herbs, you get regular, whatever it is. 'Cause that's how it used to be.
Yeah.
Right? So there's things that this brings us back to that can create ecosystems.
Right.
of mutual benefit
Right.
that we don't know until we start doing it.
Yep.
So that's what I wanted to say.
Okay. All right. So you answer all of the questions. So you did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. You talked about how people can lease land from you guys.
So we are leasing a small quarter acre to 1 acre, quarter acre to 2 acre plots of land for people who want to be market farmers. So ideally stacked function systems, so poultry or pork or cattle with lots of crops and herbs. So if
Okay.
they want to do that, we're starting that up. We've got 2 farmers involved. One's going to live there, another one's going to just
Wow.
rent
Okay.
land. And we've got 2 more spots for those, but this is in Smithville. So this is if you're interested in that rural life
Mhm.
and you want to get back to a working farm community mindset and ethos.
Mhm.
That's what we're here for that. That's out in Smithville. It's 2
What
hours
is the
away.
smallest plot they can rent?
Probably quarter acre.
Quarter acre. Okay.
Yeah.
And they
quarter
can do
acre.
whatever they want to do with that quarter acre. Be it.
So no, I'm
Okay.
glad you asked that.
Yeah.
We're practicing what people are calling, the new buzzword is regenerative.
Mhm.
Organic kind of was that back in the day before it became a bunch of more synthetic, but still
Okay.
organic chemicals. We're focusing on soil health.
Okay.
So you have to be doing practices that increase or maintain the soil fertility.
Okay.
So it can't be strip tillage, can't be using synthetics,
Okay.
fertilizers, herbicides, fungicides, any of that. You need to be doing composting, mulching, keeping the soil covered,
Okay.
and you need to be using integrated pest.
We're talking about
management.
seasoned people who know what they're doing.
People who know
Yeah.
what they're doing. So I joke that we're the graduate program.
Sounds like it.
You've
Yeah.
been through maybe a farmer training.
Yeah.
You've learned how to run maybe a small farm business on another leased land.
Yeah.
But you're ready to kind of be more independent, but not totally on your own.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You good? All right, we're good. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you all for
Alright.
having me. And
Let
if
me-
y'all would like I didn't bring very much, chocolate.
All right, so as we close this thing out, this is why we do Thursday morning breakfast. This is why we gather and why we're always trying to find subject matter experts to really share what they do for the community to make the community bigger, better, and stronger. So I want to share a few announcements that we have per events taking place in the community. Let me get back to my Facebook. So as you guys have heard me say countless times before, we do have our own digital magazine, and it comes out every Tuesday. Comes out on Tuesday, so I can promote what's going on here on Thursdays. And every speaker, this is our speaker last week. Every speaker appears on the next cover of the next issue. So Sister AJ will be on the next issue's cover. And we do have an event called Emotional Emancipation Circle. We do the second, third, and fourth Monday of every month. So if you want to connect on a higher level with people from the community, this is free. It's on Zoom, and this can be found on my Facebook page. We have an event being sponsored by Representative Charlene Ward Johnson called Saving Our Baby. So if you're interested in that, you can find more information about it on my Facebook page as well. It's happening in Acres Home at the Multi-Service Center. I don't see if I can, I'm trying to find a number. See, there's a number there that we can see. Oh shoot, where'd that go? I don't see a number on the flyer, but if you can contact me via my Facebook page, I can give you more information. Oh, wait, give you more. Yeah, it's at the Multi-Service Center on the 9th of this month, which is today, from 6 to 8 p.m. And that's being hosted by Sister Representative Charlene Ward Johnson. We have another supporter who is a contributor and a strategic partner of the magazine, Sister Amanda Kemp, having a vision board meetup that's taking place on April 26th. And then lastly, we have an ongoing fundraiser a two-volume book called Magnificent Melanated Minds. This is about people who look like you and I, blessed with melanin, who've done some absolutely phenomenal things to help move the community forward, both internationally and nationally. The electronic copy is only $20. A PDF that's emailed to you, and the hard copy that will be mailed to you is only $32. And you get the ebook. You get both of them for $20, but the hard copy is $32 each. And this is an effort for us to raise money to get our first physical space, our first conscious community center moving forward, so we can have more people like Sister AJ coming out and talking to the community, teaching and guiding the community to help move the community forward. So this is what we do every Thursday morning breakfast here at Gatlin's Barbecue. So if you're ever available and you want to swing by to meet a new phenomenal speaker, again, we don't have bad speakers. Everyone that comes through has a lot to offer, no matter where they're coming from. And we're simply trying to do our part, again, to be the bridge between those that are doing the good and those that need that good to be done in their lives. So thank you guys very much for being here, and we will see you next Thursday. Take care and God bless. Bye-bye.